But that's just me anyway, so it looks like we're now on to the halfway point in Peach's birthday cake before we move on to, you know, the next board, so...
At least we're hoping that Rosalina will able to land on our Piranha space, so that way we can able to steal a star from her.
And it looks like Peach doesn't have enough points to get herself her next star after all, because, well, after all this, that Daisy did somehow manage to kick her butt during the course of, you know, Mosh Pit and stuff like that, so...
So, anyway, another thing I would like to explain while this is going on is the fact that recently, about that time we actually did manage to play a bit of Sonic Dash recently, and because of that though, we somehow managed to able to not only unlock, you know, the rest of the forms of the Knights of the Round, well, the only exception being Sir Gawain, because obviously about the fact that, well, we actually got ourselves, Big the Cat alongside with Metal Sonic thanks to the forms of those events, token events.
So that way we don't need to worry about paying, you know, certain cash by able to actually unlock those two characters in between, so we can pretty much expect how this is going, so...
Alright, so here we go back onto Bounce and Trounce again, except now, all four of these female characters are now playing. So, the only time exception is, of course, Pom Pom, because obviously Pom Pom, she's not, as playable this time around. So, well, the only time she's actually been playable was in Super Mario Party for the Switch. Ah, darn it! Why does Daisy have all the other princesses that she always kicks our butts every time?
Or mainly because of the fact that sometimes though, our controls and movements feels a bit slightly iffy at points, but that's as far as saying goes. I think that's as far as we need to definitely to practice certain games every once in a while, because again, it's been quite a few days now since we actually last played this, you know? Well, at least the only time we did manage to able to... Well, it's hard to explain really, because aside from all these news that we've actually mentioned about,
well, as far as saying goes, there's also another thing we'd like to say, is the fact that we were originally going to be able to actually mention something more related to, the Mario movie news, but we'll save, that for later until when possibly Proto Man will able to mention more about it until when he continues on playing Metroid 2 Return of Samus, because obviously we now moved on to the next Metroid Let's Play, because let me tell you, we actually had a lot of fun with those Metroid games basically, so as a result though, yeah,
that's as far as saying goes,
yeah, anyway, there's also short things worth noting for is the fact that until 2 days time, until the 18th of October specifically, that basically Sonic Lost World, both on the Wii U and the 3DS versions most likely, that those two versions of the game...
Oh, by the way, this is what happens if you land on that event space I was mentioning about. You slide down here and you were able to avoid, you know, not only the seed lottery section, but also you can able to...
Oh, we're literally one space away from that event space, but... Oh well, no big deal, but at the very least though, we can able to just get something on the item shop. Well, aside from the fact that there's a lack of, you know, the golden pipe, because that'll make things entirely broken, so...
Spotlight swim time!
So, this time around though, we're gonna be able to take control of the searchlights, instead of like, just swimming about and all that stuff, so...
Yeah, it goes without saying. What are you trying to say before, for the sake of Sonic Lost World, for the likes of the Wii U and the 3DS versions?
Oh yeah, exactly. Until 2 days time though, is the fact that that particular game is gonna be eventually become 9 years old until 2 days time.
Oh jeez Louise, I can't even believe it's been about almost 9 years ago, since when Sonic Lost World first came out, despite there's some controversials out there. Especially because you know how the fact that when it comes to reviews of not only GameSpot, but also IGN as well, that both of those gaming channels, as far as I'm aware, did receive the game in a bit of a negative reviews, which I don't understand why. Well, true for the 3DS version, just because, seriously, the 3DS version is probably the weakest version of the game in my opinion, and on top of that, the Wii U version is actually pretty underrated in my opinion. Like, seriously, what can you forget about the forms of the most amazing visuals ever? Well, aside from the fact that it borrows exactly the same world themes from a traditional Mario game, specifically the 2D Mario game, or
as far as I like to point things out, the new Super Mario Bros. Titles, so...
Yeah, you know what I mean, with all that, you know, traditional world themes and stuff like that. I think this might be the only time for the sake of the Sonic game, to able to actually feature a traditional world themes and stuff like that. Well, nothing original, aside from the forms of, well, some interesting level gimmicks as far as that's been concerned with, but aside from that though,
well, it has been a very long time actually, since we actually last played Sonic Lost World after our Wii U save data has been corrupted by the sake of the forms of, like, deleting on itself.
Like, we didn't delete or anything, the thing just deletes it all by itself, which is... doesn't make that much sense to me though.
Although I'm guessing it's mainly because of the format of the USB device or something.
Well, it has been a very long time since we actually played the Wii U since a couple of days ago now.
I think clearly because of how the fact that we actually play the Switch a whole lot these days, especially because, you know, we're still waiting for, you know, more games to come out with, especially, we've only got about 2 more days to go. Oh, no, wait, I keep thinking about the other thing, haven't I?
Yeah, I think you're thinking about something else entirely, so... I think it's me more specifically where you're trying to point things out, that, it's gonna be 4 more days now until Mario Plus Rapid Sparks of Hope will be releasing on the Nintendo Switch.
And as a result of this point, Pinkie Pie, this will be, well, it's not necessarily the final game we're going to be getting for 2022, because that honor goes to, Sonic Frontiers, so...
Yeah, at least they'll be exciting though, especially... Oh, really?
I think we're just a bit slacking behind. Even though it could imagine if you're able to actually play this particular minigame on easy and normal, then you should able to do it no problem. Especially if you really want to get that godforsaken achievement called, you know, win every single minigames without losing a single time, which again, it does remind me of the perfect relic system from Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time in my opinion.
Well, I don't know about you, just makes up for the challenge I guess, but either way though, that's as far as saying goes.
Alright, so looks like Rosalina, she's the only one she'll able to pull out the last seed, which it turns out is the Bowser's Root, so... In this case though, she will able to lose her coins from her red space, so...
Yeah, and it goes without saying about the fact that when it comes to Sonic Frontiers, that, relatively speaking though, is the fact that we're probably not going to mention more details on that for a while, just because I'm pretty sure that Maxie has already mentioned about that, in addition to ourselves as well, we're able to actually mention more details about Sonic Frontiers.
Although, speaking of Sonic Dash though, is the fact that we actually, as I said before, that we've actually got ourselves 2 bonus characters thanks to the forms of that token event in the past few days, such as of course Big the Cat alongside with Metal Sonic as well.
And that way we're able to actually accomplish the forms of these event characters departments. The only time exceptions is of course Miss Pac-Man or Hello Kitty as well, as far as I did manage to point things out, but aside from all that stuff though, that's as far as I can usually try to describe about, you know what I mean.
Well, apart from the fact that we still got some event characters on its way, but regardless of such though, we did manage to occasionally play Sonic Dash until when the event thing starts, so that's the only thing we did manage to come back into Sonic Dash every once in a while.
Well, the only time exception is of course Sonic Boom Dash 2, just because I just have no idea why they just somehow ignoring Metal Sonic as being playable characters and stuff like that, which...
I don't know about you, Pinkie Pie, but it looks like that it keeps on, like, popping up by saying that more characters coming soon.
But aside from all that stuff, though, I think, relatively speaking, they decided to able to discontinue the actual support of Sonic Dash, Sonic Boom, like Sonic Boom, Sonic Dash 2.
So, yeah, I just have no idea why they stopped at Vector, and then skipping Metal Sonic entirely.
Well, I don't know about you, because usually, relatively speaking, for those of you guys have watched, you know, the Sonic Boom TV series, that basically Metal Sonic did manage to occasionally appear in certain episodes. One of them is involved around in Season 1, and as well as the forms of Season 2 as well.
Well, spoiler alert for those who have not seen the actual series yet, so...
Here's the Bowser's birthday cake with its old gorgeous 1080p, gorgeous HD. Well, aside from the fact that Rosalina just somehow wasted her 20 coins and she gets absolutely nothing, aside from the fact that thanks to her lucky space, that her star price is actually cut in half.
And speaking of such though, there goes Peach with her star, thanks to she actually lands on Rosalina's Piranha Plant trap.
You got a star.
This is kind of feels a bit more competitive side of things now, especially because since about the fact that you know how Rosalina's is actually doing pretty well so far when it comes to this board itself, but we do need able to figure out how on earth do we able to get that star.
Well, aside from the fact that there are still some bonus stars comes into play.
Yeah, as far as I can usually tell for this point right from the get-go, so...
I guess that's saying much, so... Alright, so it looks like we got to avoid that Piranha Plant no matter what though, so let's have a look at the map quickly. So,
yeah, of course you can able to actually see the actual description for certain Piranha Plants that has been utilized with, so...
yeah, let's just go and use the mushroom so we can able to use it for safety emergencies. And of course, we got ourselves a low number, plus 5 makes 6. But that should be okay, because we will receive some bonus coins if we somehow land on our own spot. Unlike the original version of that board, it does absolutely nothing aside from the fact that it's just some random text box did show up, so...
Alright, Parasol Plummet.
And this is obviously based off of Mario Party 3, where basically you have to collect coins, while we're simply able to use the umbrella to able to either open or close the umbrella, so just in case we can able to just float higher and above, or just able to go all the way down to grab even more coins, so...
And every once in a while though, much like Puddle Paddle, basically we need to avoid those Hammer Bros just like before, except now, you know, you'll be able to actually use the umbrella, so it's kind of like Mary Poppins, or, in certain cases though, this minigame still reminds me of one of those minigames in Sonic and the Secret Rings.
Although except the fact that there's no motion controls, so... excuse me, I got something croaky on my throat again. But I'll promise you guys, as soon as we're able to actually finish this entire board up, then basically I need able to, like, drink lots for this point. So, in terms of juices anyway, so...
Gee, 28 coins as far as we actually got for the sake of... No, wait, is it 26 or 28? I can't really tell if the actual screen is actually telling us something.
But regardless of such though, we actually got double the amount. Although, I'm pretty sure we got, 18 as far as I'm aware, because I see, the 36 or something.
Well, I don't know about you, because it has been a very long while since we actually last done some commentary recently, so,
Here we go.
Excuse me, I'm really sorry about this point, folks, especially because, well, aside from all these, news I've discussed about, I think that's as far as we can say about it, so...
Ah, so close. We were expecting if Daisy were able to land on our, Piranha Plant trap,
but let's hope if Peach might able to actually land on it at some point in the next few turns, so...
or possibly, I have no idea, because it's all depending on dice rolls, because most of the time you were able to sometimes avoid it, or other times though that you would be able to get involved in that event.
But at least on the upside, we get ourselves another star, so we should able to take another star as much as we could.
Nicely done for this point.
Oh, something worth mentioning also is the fact that, well, suffice to say, better late than never I suppose, especially noticeable where, oh, I just somehow realized that we actually got ourselves the star price count cut in half, so that should be pretty swell.
Matter of escape.
So in this case though, we're actually going to Hotel Mario HD. Ah, just kidding. So basically though, in this minigame right here is the fact that we need to make our way to the bottom of the manor first.
However though, certain doors are randomized each time whenever you replay the minigame,
so you have to find the correct door in order to progress downwards, so...
And this is obviously based off of Mario Party 9, and my lord, the visuals look stunning this time.
Especially because the lighting effects is a little bit more crisp and clear, and on top of all that stuff though, you know, it runs at 60 FPS, 1080p, and all that stuff, so...
But again, it does remind you of stuff related to that god-awful Hotel Mario game for Philips CDI, like going through doors and stuff like that.
Or, in certain cases though, I don't feel like talk about the forms of Hotel Mario. Well, aside from the fact that that game is almost gonna be... is it almost gonna be 30 years old until, at some point near the future?
I'm guessing so anyway? Well, despite the fact that you still wasn't exactly overly keen on that game though.
Well, that's only mainly because of, well, I know for the memes, but aside from all that stuff though, the game itself honestly did suck.
But on the other side, we did somehow win in Manner of Escape.
And I think, relatively speaking, I think we actually played. Although, have we played every single Mario Party 9 minigames up to this point now?
Well, aside from this one remaining one, which it happens to be located somewhere in, well, Mount Minigames, as far as I'm aware.
Oh, that's right, just because certain, minigames based off from 3... Well, we almost played every single Mario Party 3 minigames up to this point. Well, almost anyway, so...
Here we go.
But, the one I'm referring to as, you know, one of those minigames in Mario Party 4, and as well as 5, and 6, and 7, and especially 9 as well, that basically they're all gonna be located in another one of those modes. Specifically, Mount Minigames, as far as I'm aware.
Oh jeez, it looks like Peach is actually having herself her bad luck at this point to this board, especially because that, she actually lost 2 stars from that different, Piranha Plant traps, and because of that though, I just felt incredibly sorry for her right now, especially because this is her own board.
And on top of all that stuff though, it's just the fact that, well, she actually come across as unlucky, unfortunate events, so...
Alright, so let's see what's inside in this seed here, ask what Daisy to somehow choose, and it's safe, so...
Although you still need to pay 10 coins, you have to force to pay 10 coins in order to be able to do this kind of events like this, just like in the original version, so...
Nothing different from there for in terms of the pricing count, so either way though, let's just see what we can get for this item shop.
In this case, we'll buy the triple dice, so just in case we were able to... guaranteed to get ourselves one of the bonus stars eventually, like, I would say, Sightseer star, or something like that.
I suppose we should probably mention about the bonus star system for the sake of defaults in this entire game in a second, or perhaps even maybe next weekend, because, well, aside from all that stuff though, one thing I would like to say, better late than never I suppose, is the fact that, well, I'll get into more details in a second, because here we have another classic minigame, which is Shy Guy Says, based off from Mario Party 1, except 2, just because, you know, the actual environment takes place in the ocean seas, on the forms of the original Mario Party, so that makes a pretty obvious sense. So, obviously though is the fact that we need to copy exactly the same color flag as what Shy Guy does, and basically it's the fact that we need to raise the same color flag as what Captain Shy Guy raises. So, for instance, if he pulls out the red, you have to pull out the red,
and then if it's white, then you have to, you know, raise the white flag, and that's all there is to it.
However though, just like in the forms of how it does it on the top 100 version of this minigame,
you obviously have to use the L and R buttons instead of A and B, unlike the original version. So, because of this though,
I really do apologize for that particular annoying sound that's been going on for this point today, because let me tell you, trying to do commentary with my croaky throat at the moment is a bit too obnoxious at points.
Yeah, I totally get the feeling about why you're trying to able to point things out for the start, so...
Alright, so it looks like Peach is out already from the start. Well, usually for the sake of when it gets like super fast and everything.
Oh yeah, something's worth mentioning. One thing I appreciate about this version of the likes of the top 100 equivalent is the fact that in the top 100 version, it's always in a normal speed with the actual music whenever you're able to proceed to the later portion of Shy Guy Says.
But it turns out in this version, this time around though, is the fact that the more you're able to survive the longest, that not only does it get much faster, but also the music is a lot faster too.
Yeah, which I do appreciate about this particular improvement over the likes of how it does it in the top 100 version, at least in my opinion though.
Thus, with all that visuals looks stunning to look at, and thus not to mention though is the fact that thank God we don't get interrupted by the forms of that pressing the actual button before we start the minigame, which, I know there are some technical minigames for the sake of the forms of the top 100s are present as well, like, before you start the minigame, that you have to able to utilize, gyro sensing controls in order able to start the actual, the minigame itself in the top 100 for this gyro sensing controls.
Yeah, I totally get the idea about that. Especially noticeable how, for the most part, in some of these other minigames in the Island Tour, where basically does the fact that, well, for the most part it's pretty standard stuff. Like, after that preview, then obviously you can dive right into the actual action, so... Anyway, so let's see what Daisy's gonna get. 3, 7, and 7. Almost the lucky 7s entirely.
So, either way though, we can pretty much expect that she's almost guaranteed to get herself a lucky 7s, although... Unlike, well, it's hard to say, really, just because I was able to try to mention something related to the Lucky 7 system in this game in particular, but I have no luck trying to able to actually research on that specific stuff, especially because, well, we're more familiar with the forms of the Hudson Soft Mario Party games when it comes to achieving, you know, Lucky 7s entirely.
Well, to be more specifically, Mario Party 2 all the way up to DS, as far as I'm aware, when it comes to achieving Lucky 7s, or, in some cases though, as you mentioned this earlier, abundance of 5s for the sake of the forms of the 8th player, or tag match for the sake of Mario Party 7.
That's basically if you use the Golden Mushroom or the Super Shroom Orb, and then you get 6 5s and then you get 300 coins, which is quite a lot.
Unfortunately though, as you can tell from the start though, we actually got the Bowser route, so because of this though, I suppose we should probably give it a chance to, the chance time space, I'm presuming so?
Well, let's just hope we were able to get ourselves a star exponentially, but at least we were able to get ourselves a cursed dice block here and there, so we can able to use that for someone else and so for later.
So, we'll just have to get this over and done with this chance time space event, so...
One thing I do appreciate about this as well is the fact that, as you can tell, on the starting spots are 3 coins. That's pretty worthless.
Especially because we were expecting that we will get the star, but apparently though, we'll just have to give Peach 3 coins instead, so it seems kinda worthless.
So anyways, the starting location, as you can see on the bottom left corner, that obviously does the fact that we start the board off as we on the actual stack of plates.
Speaking of plates though, let's go and get into Cake Factory, and this is obviously based off of Mario Party 2.
So basically though, we need to make those strawberry cakes. So in this case though, one side can able to do the cakes, and the other side can do the strawberries itself as well, so...
Yeah, I'm sorry about this point, guys. It's just the fact that I think Pac-Man is actually having his rough time at the moment when it comes to his croaky throat in mind. But don't worry though, we'll make him a bit better until at some point until next weekend if possible. So don't worry guys, or every ponies or bronies out there, who for those who ever watching this, so...
Alright, so it looks like about the fact that, well, as suffice to say, the actual music this time around though, much like it forms of any other minigame so far, is actually correct. Because for some reason in the top 100 version, for some odd reason they managed to reuse the music based off from Mario Party 7, so...
But at least on the upside, it was actually the tie, apparently.
Well, despite the fact that everyone else still wins, basically, so we will still get certain rewards, like coins and stuff, so...
That's pretty generous, though.
Alright, so we're now on turn 24, so it looks like we've almost nearly at the end of Peach's birthday cake for sure.
And Rosalina gets a 6, so exponentially, she will land on the lucky space as always.
So yeah, anyways, as I was saying, for the sake of the forms of one of those specific anniversaries here now too, it's been 5 years ago since, well, as I said before, better late than never I suppose when it comes to mentioning about that specific stuff. So yeah, it's been 5 years ago since the, well, Star Fox 2 came out during the part of the forms of the SNES Classic Mini.
Although, it does manage to make its revisit for the sake of the Nintendo Switch on the Switch Online membership services, so...
Yeah, as a result of that kind of stuff though, is the fact that, well, it's been, you know, 5 years ago since when Star Fox 2 finally saw the light of day onto, specifically, the Super Nintendo Classic Mini and stuff like that, because it was usually becomes like a unreleased Super Nintendo game to begin with.
just because of the forms of, I don't know about you, like short lifespan or something, or perhaps even maybe because they want to move on to the Nintendo 64 during that time for its development cycle. It's hard to tell, honestly, but either way though, let's aim for a 9, so we can pretty much guarantee we're able to get ourselves the glorious Lucky Space after purchasing the star, of course, by simply paying 10 coins and stuff like that, which is a half a price, then in forms of 20 coins if possible.
And also I do still love the fact that, just like in the original version of this board, I still love the fact that they obviously include not only Wario, but also Donkey Kong, Yoshi, Luigi, and Mario on their decoration on part of the cake, so,
which is pretty swell.
And here we go, on to the last Mario Party 10 minigame as we've played on this collection, and this appears to be Flash Forward. Oh man, this minigame. I've no idea why they decided to bring this back.
But anyways though, this minigame right here is the fact that obviously we need to get onto this platform, and then if the timer goes up to 0, or when the timer reaches to 0, the camera starts flashing, and depending on the finished performance, basically we get some points of how well we did. However though, that you only get 1 point or 1 round for that matter, and that's all there is to say, so... But one thing we still don't understand though is the fact that why they still not get enough time in order to... It's hard to explain because it's been a very long time since we actually last played Flash Forward, not only on Mario Party 10 that was originally from, but it's also in the Top 100 version as well. Although, just like in the Top 100 version and Mario Party 10 as well, basically, depending on if you manage to revisit that particular minigame, you get yourselves a nice different background based off from certain minigames and stuff like that, so... Yeah, that's saying something. And also, unlike the Top 100 version of that minigame, obviously the music is now correct,
so because for whatever reason, they just reused the music from Mario Party 4.
Yeah, as far as saying goes, that's as far as I can usually try to describe about this, and it looks like Rosalina got screwed up again.
Yep, because she's now gonna be on to the Bowser's route yet again.
And it looks like she gets a Bowser birthday cake yet again.
Although that might be good for us though, because as far as I'm aware, that Rosalina is gonna be the tough competitor right now, unlike the forms of how it does it on, well, it's hard to tell honestly, because again, it's been quite a few hours since actually, since we last recorded this, so...
Alright, so Peach gets a miserable 2, and let's see what Daisy's gonna get. She gets an 8.
Oh, wait a second. Oh, yes!
Oh, yeah! So it looks like we now got the star from Daisy thanks to that Piranha Plant trap.
However though, if you do manage to able to land on that specific trap though, much like the original version of the board, basically though, the Piranha Plants will disappear, assuming if someone were able to actually just spend on 5 coins for a smaller variation, or the big variation depending on the price, so...
let's go ahead and use the triple dice again, so just in case we're able to potentially get ourselves one of those bonus stars, if that ever happens, so...
Anywho though, oh yeah, sure, another thing is worth mentioning for is the fact that one of those actors, for the sake of the forms of back in about a few days ago, I would say sometime in September as well, that it's been like 80 years since when Ian McShane has been in existence, where she did a voice of Captain Hook from Shrek the Third, and also Tai Long from Kung Fu Panda,
and on top of that, Mr. Bobbin Sky, and other Mr. Boyan Sky from Carlin. So, yeah, pretty interesting fact. So, happy 80th birthday to Ian McShane. So, yeah, pretty cool, huh?
Although we're going back onto Ice Rink Risk again, so I guess that might be some consumption to deal with ice physics, and seriously though, it's actually kind of tricky to deal with in this minigame sometimes, just like Pit Boss.
Although, on the upside is though, is the fact that unlike Pit Boss, basically the arena itself is actually much more larger, so you can pretend— No!
We only just got 1 second to survive, but then, if 1 second is already up, then basically we could have guaranteed to get a nice victory.
Fish paste.
Anyway, last 5 turns, so, and unlike the forms of how it does it on, although, looks like we actually on first, and Rosalina was in second, Daisy was in third, and Peach was in last. Although, it looks like Toad is gonna summon the Lakitu, and he was predicting Peach might win, well, despite the fact that there will be bonus stars comes into play, and the bonus that she gets is, of course, the triple dice. So, that'll be handy though, if you really want to catch up to the star count, so... And, unlike the forms of how it does it on Spaceland though, is the fact that it seems very obvious there's no bank space to be found, so... Yeah, it makes it pretty much more standard stuff, basically, and... Seriously? Why do you have to aim for 1? Oh, I know why, because you really need to be able to farm some more coins exponentially, I think, so... Alright, so Peach gets a 3, 7, and 8, so that makes 18. How convenient with that number. And also, one thing I should probably mention is the fact that I love the forms of the actual rendition of this, the Super Mario Bros. Overworld theme has been playing on the last 5 turn events. It's actually pretty cool. Yeah, which makes it a little bit more obvious, because obviously that, you know, we're exploring the birthday cake and stuff like that, which this board does remind me of something related to the board based off of Mario Party 5 as well, which appears to be by the forms of Sweet Dream. However though, thank God there's no bridges to come across into, so and on top of that, this board also reminds me of the forms of one of those worlds to explore in Mario Party Star Rush, which appears to be in Wall 3, that you're able to explore around in a sweet themed board. Yeah, that seems pretty cool for that circumstances though. So either way though, it's nice to see the actual the sweet deserted board makes a comeback in a modern world. So yeah, anyway though. So in this case though, we get an 8, so at least I think we are safe from now on. So although it would be nice if we managed able to land on the event space, so that way we can able to spend even more coins for able to summon another Piranha Plant, so we can able to screw up not only certain opponents, but you name the rest. Alright, Snowball summons, and this appears to be based off of Mario Party 3, as you probably already know. And basically in this one is the fact that we need to build up the snowball while trying to knock everyone else out in the entire summit itself. And yeah, basically though, the more you're able to build up your snowball, as soon as when it gets bigger, not only becomes even much more invulnerable, but it's also the fact that if the actual snowball itself grows even bigger when it starts to shine, basically you get yourself a massive push-off for certain opponents. So, and especially noticeable about the fact that it actually instantly destroys the smaller variations of certain snowballs, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, something's worth mentioning for the sake of the forms of this particular minigame. We originally did say that back in Mario Party 3, that Chip Shot Challenge was actually overall one of our favorite, my absolute favorite minigames in Mario Party 3. Well, ultimately speaking though, after replaying through Mario Party 3 for a bit, we did somehow realize that I think, to me though, Snowball Summoned is actually my absolute favorite minigame now for the sake of Mario Party 3. Not just because of the environment, but it's also how competitive that minigame is. And on top of all that stuff though, it's just the fact that it's such a blast to play for the sake of the forms of while trying to able to survive and stuff like that. So, although don't get me wrong, we still enjoy Chip Shot Challenge as it is, but ultimately though, it's just the fact that, well, relatively speaking though, it's just, well, I think pretty much about the time that sometimes we lose occasionally for the sake of Chip Shot Challenge due to computer players' aiming shot has been censored sometimes if they're about to be preparing for a shot. But apart from those side of things though, oh jeez, almost a 10-10-10 syndrome. However though, that if you get triple 10s though, you get like 20 coins instead of like 30 coins for the sake of like, I don't know about you, it has been a very long time since I actually last known about that stuff though, aside from the one specific aspect in Mario Party 7, so...
Oh yeah, another thing is worth mentioning for is the fact that, you know, as we mentioned this before, we're almost nearly at the end for the sake of the forms of Mario Kart Tour Battle Tour, which, so far as we did manage to play the tour so far, it was okay. I mean, sure, it's a lot better than the forms of the previous tours, that's for sure, at least in my opinion. And on top of all that stuff, though, is the fact that we're still very glad about the fact that there's no stupid gotcha moments by using rupees this time, which has always been a huge plus in my book, so... Yeah, I really do apologize for the forms of my commentary is a little bit... croaky at this point, although maybe because I've almost swallowed my biggest pack dots or anything else to be more specific, but I'm sure Pinkie Pie will be able to help me out eventually, so... Alright, Paint's misbehaving, and this is obviously based off of Mario Party 8, where basically there's the fact that all we have to do in this minigame here is the fact that we need to paint most of those Goombas in order to win. And I think, relatively speaking, we played every single Mario Party 8 minigames, so... Again, it's kind of a shame that I kind of wish there's more of those minigames, but again, because of Mario Party 8 has a lot of emphasis on motion controls, so... But either way though, that's as far as saying goes. And this time, rather than just using the actual Wii Remote's directional pad in order to take control of those paint contraptions, so instead it's now being controlled by the control sticks, so... So let's just go ahead and paint as many of those Goombas as much as we can. In fact, kind of thinking about it, this minigame does remind me of the forms of Trial and Error from Mario Party 7, except the fact that, well, relatively speaking, though, we're actually shooting paintballs in order able to cover up certain Goombas instead of ground pounding certain tiles. Although, despite the AI can be really dumb at times, especially because in Trial and Error case, that's usually Boo just somehow managed able to push off, you know, push Luigi off for the sake of our Let's Play of Mario Party 7 in Pyramid Park, most likely, so... And it's time to get a little bit more serious that we can able to cover up more paintballs on these two princesses right here. Although it's kind of a shame too is the fact that with those Mario Party 8 minigames, as far as I'm aware, they managed to brought back, they're all majority of 2 vs 2 minigames, so there's no 1 vs 3s or 4-player minigames, which is kind of a shame, honestly. Like, we could have just able to add it in, Sick and Twisted, or Laughable Lethem, or in other cases though with the forms of Booktang Gallery for 2 vs 2 department, and also Grabby Gridon for the sake of the 2 vs 2 minigames as well, and also same applies with the forms of Crank to Rank, although Crank to Rank already does make a return from the likes of in the top 100, but you have to control it with the stylus, and same applies at the Trump Wash as well. Although Aim of the Game is the only Mario Party 8 returning minigame that does manage to replace motion controls into button controls, so we could have able to added that too. Oh, let's not forget ourselves Glacial Meltdown as well, which I highly doubt it might not likely make an appearance on here, but oh well.
Well, I know for the fact that for you, Pinkie Pie, I think you're doing fine when it comes to commentary today, whilst I'm not most of the time because of my stupid croaky throat right now.
I know that, especially because of how the fact that, well, hopefully I'll get you fixed soon enough.
Alright, so it looks like Daisy now got her star right now, so... I think surprisingly enough though is the fact that this board in general is actually going a lot faster than I expected. Although mainly because obviously this board itself is a bit smaller than the forms of how it does it on other boards throughout the game so far in Mario Party Superstars. And on top of all that stuff though is just the fact that there aren't that many board events to be found. So, alright, Tackle Takedown. So I think this might actually be the last Mario Party 9 minigame we played or something? Mind you, I haven't exactly double checked on the list or anything, but either way though, I think this is another one of those minigames we have not played yet, I think, so... Yeah, anyway, the solo player needs to be able to run away from those 3 players, and then the other 3 players needs to be able to give them a bit of a tackle, so... Think of like rugby or American football for those of you who lived in America, so yeah, it makes obvious sense. However though, you do have 3 dash power-ups for the single player, so... Even though we somehow got screwed due to the fact that my AI team just somehow managed able to do absolutely nothing, aside from just wandering around like nothing else.
Although, to be fair, Pac-Man, that's basically that it doesn't matter if we let Peach win, because she somehow had the worst luck ever for the entire board so far.
I guess that makes a little bit sense as far as I'm concerned.
Alright, so speaking of Peach, what are you gonna do here?
Obviously, she's gonna use her custom dice block for, I wonder what she's gonna use it on. Or maybe she gets a low number, which is 2.
Oh, I get it, because she really wants to get the... Oh, another one of those bonus stars, which appears to be the unlucky bonuses or something like that, so...
Although it's a kind of a tough decision as far as I'm aware, because like I said before, those bonus stars are randomized, so... Because you can never really tell of which specific bonus stars you'll be getting, so... Alright, so let's go ahead and use our Cursed Dice block at Rosalina, because as far as I'm aware, she's almost right near to our Piranha Plant trap, so we're able to use it on her.
And because of that though, until the final turn, hopefully that we will be able to guarantee that we will get the star exponentially.
From her anyway.
You got a star.
So there we go, we've now actually almost catching up, although we're now on first place right now, so that should be pretty swell.
Especially it really helps that we actually got the ridiculous amount of coins.
Especially noticeable because we haven't exactly spent all that much though.
Anyways, Dungeon Duos, here we go.
And this is obviously based off of Mario Party 4, the good old classic Dungeon Duos minigame, and I'm very glad this minigame makes a comeback, because this minigame is a classic, alongside with Book Squirm.
However, there's one little thing, I have a little bit of a nitpicking with this version in particular though.
No, it's the fact that if we get to the rotating platform segment, in fact, we'll just go ahead and done practicing with this minigame, because we already know exactly how this minigame plays out.
Then you're obviously going to go for a serious amount of obstacles, such as for instance, you're going to be able to activate these doors,
and also those rotating platforms, warp pipes to traverse into, and the final obstacle is obviously the balloon that we have to inflate before we're able to win the minigame. So,
yeah, pretty standard stuff, like you have to do the ridiculous button mashing in the beginning, and on top of all that stuff though, trying to get into one of those pipes at random. And on top of all that stuff though, is the fact that we need to alternate between L and R presses in order able to actually inflate the balloon and stuff. So, yeah, this is a section I was on about, though for some odd reason, I've no idea why. Maybe because we're having a bit of a rough time at the beginning portion whenever first time we play this version of this minigame,
that for some strange reason, the drop shadow has removed.
And on top of all that stuff though, landing on these platforms is a bit finicky, at least in my opinion though anyway.
But apart from those side things though, after quite enough practice, then this shouldn't be that much of a problem, I think, so...
And of course, about the fact that, oh, Rosalina somehow gets the correct pipe, huh?
Well, nothing matters anyway though, because either way though... Oh wow, we somehow managed to get into one of those pipes instantly, okay.
And I'm very grateful about the fact that the balloon section is actually a little bit more of improvement this time around though, as opposed to the forms of how it does in the original version in my opinion, just because the original version, don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed it for what it is.
But it's just the fact that with the balloon section at the end though, it just feels a bit, I don't know, very difficult at times.
But there we go, we finally managed to win Dungeon Duos for the sake of the forms of, well, as far as to my experience on my own time. That's, well, it's hard to explain, honestly, but either way, though.
Yeah, everything else will actually more specifically account. Alright, final turn, here we go, before we move on to the, well, the fourth board, so...
And Rosalina gets a 3, so that means farewell to her stars!
So that gives us a ginormous lead within 8 stars right now.
Is it just me, or is it becomes very similar to the forms of how it does it in, well, let's just say, well, I don't know about you, Spaceland or something?
Yeah, it could be one of those huge emphasis on this, I guess. So yeah, in terms of bonus stars, for the sake of the forms up in, well, you know what I mean, in this game in particular, we still have the minigame star, of course, and as well as the eventful space, which is obviously the happening star in this game, essentially.
And on top of that, there's also, the unlucky star, which basically if you land on certain red spaces or anything else to be more specific,
basically though you get yourselves the unlucky bonus, and also there's the item bonus, which is essentially equivalent to the orb star or the candy star in both 6, 7, and 8 essentially.
And also same applies with the shopping bonus, which allows you to able to purchase certain items and stuff like that. And yeah, it's basically the equivalent to the shopping star in both 7 and 8. And also same applies with oh jeez, 10 coins bets for this versus space. But I wonder what minigame are we gonna be playing this time? Oh, you gotta be kidding me, this minigame again! Oh, we're gonna lose easily, aren't we? Especially because, like we said before, jeez, I did not know Bono's head was actually a lot ridiculously bigger than the princess's right here. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous and over the top at the same time, but... Oh, come on! Screw this minigame, I'm done with this. Well, let's just see how the others are doing. In fact, I think Peach is instantly out as well. Hey. I bet that Rosalina will definitely gonna win this no matter what, so yeah, she did somehow made it out. And meanwhile for Daisy though, she's probably gonna be able to be in 2nd place. Although, to be fair though, we are pretty much still guaranteed to get some coins back, well, despite the fact that we are out, but either way though, we'll just take 2 coins I guess, so that should be alright I guess. Although, to be fair though, that we actually got the ridiculous amount of coins, so it really does not matter at all, so... Alright, so I think we should probably aim for... Okay, so we got 6 at the end anyway, so... It's all depending on red space or blue space at the end, so... So yeah, talking of which when it comes to other bonus stars in general, is the fact that there's actually 2 new bonus stars that's actually introduced in this game. So in this case though, we got the Bowser Space Star, which somehow if you land on so many Bowser Spaces, you guarantee to get the bonus star. And finally, Rich Star, which I think is like the equivalent to the Coin Star, what basically does the fact that, well, I'll point it out in a second. So in this case though, Archer Rifle. So in this case though, time to take down those 3 princesses with their cardboard cutouts. Well, I think it's probably best able to ignore Boo and Goomba right here because, well, as far as I'm aware, they really do help you out. Because unlike the original version, that basically though, it does not give you any extra coins, so... I guess that's simple enough, I guess. One thing is actually, another thing I kind of feels a bit odd about this is that, especially since this is the final turn, of course, I don't suppose we actually got that much, well... It's hard to explain because it's been a very long while since I actually mentioned about this. But one thing I should probably say, that you don't receive extra coins if you win the final minigame, which is a bit odd. So anyways, bonus stars time. So Sightseer bonus, I think that actually goes to us, because as far as I usually predicted that correctly, because of the triple dice blocks. Yeah, that should be pretty cool and stuff like that. Slowpoke bonus will actually remove least amount of spaces, and that is Rosalina, so let's try something. And finally, the shopping bonus. I wonder who is gonna get that. And that will have to be Peach, surprisingly enough. Yeah, I was very surprised about that too. So somehow we did win the majority of, well, Peach's birthday cake, of course, and the ending doesn't actually activate the candles anymore, so instead it's just, well, a pretty standard piranha plants coming out of those little whipped cream and stuff. But hey, at least we did manage to win regardless. So now we can have ourselves our delicious birthday cake, especially with all its delicious desserts, including Pink Panther biscuits. So, yeah, because I do really love the Pink Panther biscuits, because as far as I'm aware, I'm very surprised how this version does include that as part of the bridge in the actual starting location. So, anyways though, so here's the actual photo album for the sake of Peach's birthday cake results, and yeah, pretty cool and swell at the same time, even though Peach somehow lost her own board. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate on her part. So yeah, let's check the actual results quickly for the actual details as far as this is concerned. So yeah, because one thing I should probably say, that when it comes to the Rich Star in this game, is the fact that, well, it's unlike the forms of how it does it with the Coin Star in the previous installments. It does not matter who held the most coins in their wallet at any given time.
So it's relatively speaking, this bonus star is rewarded to the player who collected the most coins total throughout the game, including coins spent and stolen from them. So yeah, that something is a little bit different than the likes of the forms of the coin star in the previous games. So,
but as you probably already know about the fact that, like I said before, there's no item space around here just because, well, seems very standard stuff though, because obviously it does not include that much spaces to be around here.
But I digress, so we did somehow use 4 stickers at the very least, so...
And let's check the graph, and it looks like about the fact that, well, everyone else got the bonus stars except Daisy, so...
I guess that makes it a little bit more standard, I guess, but either way though, let's just go ahead and leave the board, and we'll get some more, you know, coins, so that way we can able to spend the final few items here and there.
And on top of that, we got ourselves Conquered the King achievement by winning the Bowser minigame in any point, only in the party board portion, so...
Anyways though, so I suppose we should probably end things off here, so join us next weekend for more of Let's Play of Mario Party Superstars.
Is the fact that we'll move on to the 4th board in a game based off of Mario Party 3.
And this appears to be Woody Woods, which is the only board returning from Mario Party 3. Kind of a shame honestly, but oh well.
So we'll see you guys on the next weekend.
Later fellas.
See you guys then!